Portugal's mining story is ancient, dating back to the Roman era. But today, this sector is undergoing a massive transformation, essential for the EU's drive for raw material self-sufficiency.
The numbers speak for themselves: significant growth and a market size of over €500 million. We're seeing major developments in lithium, copper, and other critical minerals, attracting strategic investment. This growth is framed by the European Critical Raw Materials Act.
Our focus today is on balance. How can Portugal harness its geological potential to support Europe's green and digital transitions while focusing on environmental protection, social responsibility, and economic opportunity?
Welcome to this session, organised in partnership with Cluster Portugal Mineral Resources, where we explore Portugal's evolving journey from exploration to responsible extraction in this new era of mining.
Good morning, everybody. Bom dia a todos, caros colegas e amigos. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the confidence that they put on us in co-organizing this session too. We have been able to build a session with a very good representation, I would say, of our mining sector in Portugal. Nevertheless, we don't forget that we have much more institutions, companies, associations that play a very important role in the Portuguese mining sector. So we don't forget about that. Also, the session was built around critical raw materials. That was the justification for that. We know that how important are they in this moment in the global context, not only in the European one, but we also don't forget all the other essential minerals that are not considered critical or strategical. And they are essential for one reason, because society needs them, because society consumes that, because society grows with the consumption of mineral raw materials. So that's why all of them are essential, and some of them, for several reasons and criteria, are considered critical and strategic. So without any other delays, we will begin the session with some speakers. First one is António Costa Silva. I'm very grateful to him and to all the speakers and panelists for their presence. It's very inspired, I would say, to have them here. So António, as you can see in the program, was a former and recent Minister of Economy of Portugal. But I invite him not because of that. I invite him because his expertise in geopolitics related with mineral resources and with energy resources, as you are going to see, I'm sure, is one of the most knowledgeable persons on that field. So, António, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I would like to thank the invitation to be here this morning and to share with you some of the key issues and challenges that we are facing in geopolitical terms and also related with the supply chains of the critical raw materials. I think there is no doubt today that we are coming from a world that was characterized by a rising globalization, the speed integration of the world economies, the functioning of the supply chains almost perfectly with the famous model just in time. We had a strong development in terms of the trade worldwide and across worldwide, low interest rates, low inflation. And we are coming to an era of growing geopolitical fragmentation, geoeconomical fragmentation, disruption in the supply chains, as we have seen for the automotive industry and others with the microchips, and we are facing a decline in the international trade. As the French philosopher Montesquieu said more than 2 centuries ago, commerce, trade is a pacifier of the international relationships, is a promoter of the well-being of the nations and the prosperity of the nations. And we are seeing today that human species does not learn with our own mistakes. And on top of that, we have today a growing economic volatility, which creates challenges for the companies, for the enterprises, difficulties in access to markets, difficulties for the innovation, the use by the big powers of trade, of the supply chains, as weapons in terms of the fierce strategical competition that characterizes this landscape. And of course, we are witnessing the reconfiguration of the supply chains and more difficulties for the companies across the world. These are not good news. And at the center of this dispute, as always, is the control of the mineral resources. And I can give you an example. In 2010, the world was confronted with the first clash between China and Japan in the China Sea. Japan just captured a fishing boat from China. China demanded Japan to return the boat. Japan refused, and China canceled the export of rare earths to Japan. And Japan capitulated in 48 hours. And why? All the electronic industry of high precision in Japan was threatened of paralysis. And this will happen again and again if we enter in this year where the countries which control the resources exert coercion to the others. And what happened after that, as we can see today, there are restrictions on the rare earth. China, as the largest mine in the world, is the Bao mine located in Inner Mongolia. They control around 80% of the production in the world, 90% of the processing, because a long time ago, with a clear strategic vision for the future that came from Deng Xiaoping, the architect of China economic revolution, they just bet in this area. And when Deng Xiaoping visited the mine in the end of the 80s, he said the Middle East has oil and gas, and they control the current economy in the world. We will have the rare earth, we will control the economy in the future. And this is this clear vision that we are lacking in the European Union, as we have seen with some of the bad policies in the last decades. So what happened today is very clear. We have to develop our industry, the mineral resources industry, but we are confronted with the public perception. And we have to change the public perception. And to change the public perception is very important in terms of the public debate, to have the engagement of the stakeholders and to explain to people that mineral resources not should be demonized. They are everywhere in our life. If we look to a car is like an open sky mine, because if you look to the different components, all the critical mineral resources are represented there. So you have copper, you have aluminium, we have iron in the structure, you have in the batteries, you have in all the catalyzers. So you have in the illumination, in the screens of the cars. A cars is really a good example of that. But if we look to this extraordinary development of the microchips, in 1971, Intel launched the first chip in the world, which was the 404. So the 404 chip had 15 chemical elements and minerals. Today, the chips, they have more than 60. And what happened? In 1971, they placed 2,000 transistors in a small area. Today, if you look to a smartphone, the microchips of the smartphone, they can accommodate more than 15 billion transistors. And they have more than 70 mineral and chemical elements incorporated. So when we demonize this industry, we are really demonizing the pathway for the future. And we have to change this perception. Is very, very important. On top of that, every year in the world, we consume around 1 billion tons of steel. We consume 4 billion tons of cement, 300 million tons of plastics, 200 million tons of ammonia. Without these 4 major products, our civilization is blocked. So we need steel, we need copper, we need all these elements, asphalt. Without that, there are no cities, no buildings, no roads, no future, no civilization. So our fight is a fight directed towards addressing the concerns, and there are concerns in the communities, but we have to explain what we are doing. In terms of the European Union, I would like to say very clear to you, I was Minister of the Economy, I worked with my colleagues in the Council of Competitiveness, and I was very disappointed. I am in deep favor of the European project, but pay attention, the European project is working in not very well conditions. And this is reflected in the policies developed in the last decades, which demonized the mineral resources industry. For instance, or today, the automotive industry, based on the internal combustion engine. This is not a right approach. And so I confronted my colleagues in the Council of Competitiveness. We have to face the situation of Europe. In 2008, the GDP of Europe was similar to the United States of America. We had around 14.2 trillion versus 14.7 trillion. What happened in these 16 years? United States, they developed the economy. Today they are approaching 29 trillion US dollars, and the GDP of Europe is around 17, 18 trillion. So we are lagging behind more than 40%. So we are losing competitiveness. And this is reflected why the policies that were adopted based on these crazy ideas that we can develop an advanced civilization without mineral resources, without industry. This led to the disindustrialization of Europe. And in the 90s, Europe produced 23% of microchips in the world. Today is less than 6%. If you speak about artificial intelligence, we'll change the economy, we'll change the world, because artificial intelligence is the electricity of the 21st century. And what happened? Only 7% of new patents of artificial intelligence in the world are located in the European Union. If you look to other areas, for instance, the technological companies, from the largest 20 technological companies in the world, only one is European. So to face these conditions, I think Europe adopted with the French commissioner, Thierry Breton, that adopted this Critical Raw Materials Act, and we worked very close with him to reverse the idea in Europe and to lead to the industrialization of Europe again. But don't be mistaken, this fight is a very fierce fight, and this starts directly in the European Union. We have an European Union that is very biased towards regulation. We have an excess of regulation in the European Union that kills the industry. So when I was minister, I asked my staff to identify the new regulations in the last 4 years, and this was 2023. In 4 years, the European Union and the member states, they developed 3,500 new regulations in 4 years. And so I confronted my colleagues and the Commission as well, how you can have in Europe companies that bid for innovation, respond to the current challenges with this over-regulation that kills the development of the industry. So the decision was to decline the regulations. My proposal was to have a reduction of 40% at least. Today is less than that, but I think is the right approach. And artificial intelligence is a good example. We are lagging behind China and the United States in artificial intelligence, but we have already a very restrictive regulation regarding artificial intelligence. So we are working on the opposite mode. We should give to the companies all the incentives to develop innovation, to develop all these critical areas. And the regulation, and I am in favor of regulation, should be smart and directly chirurgical and directly to the issues that are really important. On top of that, Europe developed huge projects for the decarbonization of the industry, the Green Deal, and also the energy transition. And look what is happening today. In 2024, China produced 70% of the electric cars. So 17 million of electric cars were sold, 2/3 were produced in China. China produced 80% of the batteries, 90% of the solar panels. So even the industries that started in Europe with this over-regulation, with this bureaucracy, with this slow process in terms of the decision, is not in favor of the industry. And we have to change that and look to the future. And regarding what we are doing here in Portugal, I think Portugal is a good example that is also very interesting to discuss. First of all, in terms of the energy transition, the country was able to reduce significantly the dependence on the fossil fuels. We entered the 21st century depending in 89% of oil, gas, and coal. Today, the dependence is around 60%, so we have a huge reduction in percentual terms. It's necessary to do more, but we have done that. But on top of that, 70% of the energy, of the electricity used in this country comes from the renewables. And the incorporation of renewables is bringing competitiveness to our energy system. If you look to the standards and the statistics of the European Union, it is very clear that we have a significant advantage on that. But the main point here regarding the mineral resources in Portugal, we are undertaking a new development of our industry. Portugal has a long tradition and legacy on mining. It started more than 2,300 years ago with the Romans, so they developed the potential, the mining potential of the country. Today, Portugal produces copper, zinc. In fact, is one of the largest European producers of copper and zinc, but produces as well lead, tungsten, gold, silver. It produces also lithium, which is very important, and iron. And if you look to the south of the country, we have the so-called Iberian Pyrite Belt. So this is a massive occurrence of sulfides, of polymetallic sulfides, and the potential of this Iberian Belt is not yet fully evaluated. I am convinced, and the companies that are operating are doing a very good job. The mining surveys show that the potential is there. This is a part of the territory that spans across 300 kilometers in one and the other side of the border with Spain, and it's a very important active asset. Without copper, there is no energy transition, there is no electrification of the economy, there are no electrical grids. On the north of the country, we are developing all the potential regarding the lithium mines, and I am really glad because the previous evaluation of the lithium mines potential with the new mining surveys, it increased a lot, more than 200% in terms of the potential, and the lithium is crucial. So our idea that was presented to the European Commission and that this was accommodated in these strategic projects of the critical raw materials approach is to have the development of all the value chain of lithium in Portugal, in this area of the country, not only from extraction, but the refining, processing, and also the circular economy and the recovery. And so in terms of the Critical Raw Materials Act, we have today these targets that are in the document. We have to at least extract or produce 10% of the minerals that Europe use, 40% in terms of the processing. We have to recycle 25%. But if we look to these targets, we are lagging behind. So we need really a different approach in order to change this picture. And this is linked to some of serious drawbacks that we have in Europe. We have a bad marriage between the European bureaucracy with the bureaucracy of the state members. So if you see in the document of the critical raw materials, the licensing for extraction is 27 months. 27 months is a huge time. The world is changing daily, on a daily basis. And our response in Europe is very slow, based on mechanisms that are really very, very slow. And this, combined with the bureaucracy, combined with the over-regulation, creates a landscape that is not favorable to recover the economy and to industrialize the country. So just to finalize, I would like to say that we need more involvement in terms of the political leaderships. Sometimes the political leaderships are very weak. They govern according to the polls. They don't stand to defend the right strategic approach for the economy. It is necessary to increase more and more the engagement of the political leadership. Is also to increase the engagement of the stakeholders, to work with the communities. And we have in Portugal some of the developments regarding the access to the communities, the discussion. I think Savannah in the north of the country is a good example, explaining to the people, gaining the spirit of the communities. But we have also to develop a smart mining approach, so with the inclusion of all the technologies to change the current model, incorporate the digitalization. Digitalization can optimize the production, the production chains, it can streamline the operations, it can minimize the waste, and we have to link our industry. Because we care about the environment, we have to link the industry to the sustainability pathway for the future, saying that the industry is at the forefront in addressing this issue, using all the technologies that we have today, including artificial intelligence, in order to respond to this challenge. And just to finalize, I'd like to remind you that recently, in Zambia, there was a huge discovery of a copper mine by a United States company, Cobalt, that used all the knowledge that exists in the Stanford University regarding geostatistics, combined with artificial intelligence, in order to provide a fresh view about the potential of the resources. In Portugal, we have, in the IST, one of the most advanced geostatistical centers in the world, and we have to combine all these issues, technology, with the companies, in order to provide a sustainable way for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Antonio. It's always very hard to stop him, but because we are enjoying the talk, so it's also very difficult. I think that the main message is it's time for Europe, wake up. If not, we will have serious problems. Antonio also emphasized the problem of the regulations, and nobody better than Patricia Fallet. Patricia is a mining engineer responsible for the Department of Mines in our mining authority, the Director General of Energy and Geology. And Patricia will present a plan that was presented to the public presently in December last year, a plan to implement the critical raw materials in Portugal. So let's hear Patricia what he has to say about that. Patricia, the floor is yours. 15 minutes. If you can do it in a little bit less, even better. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak at MINEX Europe. I'm here on behalf of the General Director for Energy and Geology. And I am, as Luis said, the head of the Mines Department at DGHE. My presentation is about Portugal's action plan to implement the Critical Raw Materials Act. The plan has 19 measures, but today I will focus on just 3 of them, measures 3, 4, and 19, because I believe they are the hearts of a successful national strategy: planning, territorial integration, and communication. As you know, the Critical Raw Materials Act, or REMS in Portuguese, is the new European regulation on critical raw materials. It sets ambitious goals for Europe's security of supply, competitiveness, sustainability, and strategy autonomy. To translate these European objectives into practice, Portugal prepared a national action plan with 19 actions targeting 6 specific areas and cross-cutting issues. Portugal has significant geological resources, including critical and strategic raw materials essential for the green and digital transition, for defense, and for Europe's competitiveness. To make the most of this potential, we need a careful balance: economic opportunity, environmental protection, and social acceptance must go together. This balance is only possible with planning and dialogue. Out of the 19 measures, I will highlight 3. The sectoral program for geological resources, the integration of geological resources into land use planning instruments, and the communication plan for mineral resources. Together, they provide the strategic vision, the territorial application, and the social trust that Portugal needs. The main goal of the sectoral program for geological resources is to have a clear national vision and improve the governance of these resources. It creates a framework for public authorities, companies, and local communities, and it ensures consistency with other public policies: energy, environment, climate, industry, and territorial regional development. With this program, companies and investors gain predictability. Decision makers have stronger guidance to match local, national, and European priorities, and conflicts over land use can be anticipated and managed, leading to more sustainable outcomes. This plan will provide the administration with adequate geological information to develop regional and local policies for the sustainable use of mineral resources. It will support the characterization of Portugal's mining potential, especially regarding critical and strategical mineral deposits, meeting the needs of raw materials to supply the industry, and it will allow the development of the raw materials value chain and downstream industries. The plan should support compatibility with other land use and activities and improve community engagement. Measure 4 focus on integrating geological resources into regional and local spatial planning instruments. Why is this important? Because mineral projects happened on the ground, in territories where people live and worry about the impacts of mining projects of their livelihoods. Land use conflicts can block exploration and mining projects or delay their implementation. This measure is expected to strike a balance between public assets and public interest, reducing the risk of conflict and accelerating the sustainable implementation of critical raw materials projects. Legal and territorial coherence helps avoid conflicts and gives clarity to all parties involved. When mineral resources are properly reflected in spatial plans, investors gain legal certainty. Citizens and local governments benefit from greater transparency and predictability, and projects can be better aligned with local development strategy, instead of being perceived as imposed from outside. This integration should also enhance the capacity of municipalities to analyze and understand the benefits and potential risks of mining projects. The final measure I want to highlight is the communication plan for mineral resources. This is essential, it is inclusive, it involves authorities, companies, policymakers, experts, and communities. Its goal is to provide clear information, build social awareness, knowledge, and most importantly, build trust. We must address communities, mistrust of the industry, and misinformation about mining, as well as their legitimate concerns. We must raise awareness and inform mayors, municipalities, and society to large about the sector, about the fact that exploration activities often do not result in a mine, about new mining technologies to prevent environmental challenge from the past. When communication is open, reliable, and transparent, social opposition decreases. Public understanding of why critical raw materials are fundamental for society, development, daily days, and how they are managed responsibly is essential to overcome disinformation and fears based on negative environmental impacts from the past, which are common in Portugal. Stronger engagement and better information should result in stronger social acceptance and legitimacy of mining projects and an improved image of the sector, fundamental for its future. These three measures are not isolated. They reinforce each other. The sectoral program provides the national vision, land use planning ensures territorial application, and the communication plans builds social trust and awareness. Together, they create the conditions for implementing the Critical Raw Materials Act in Portugal effectively. In conclusion, Portugal is committed to implementing the Critical Raw Materials Act in a way that is strategic, transparent, and inclusive, by combining planning, territorial coherence, and communication. we can unlock the potential of our geological resources while respecting people and the environment. The key message is simple. Better planning and better communication are the keys to success. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Patricia, and thank you also for us to save some time. Congratulations for the English. As you see, only the 10 first times it's difficult. After that, it's easy. And hope that the measures, if not the 19, at least the 3 measures that you pointed out, which I agree are very important, becomes a reality soon. So after the regulatory institution, we'll have the institution in Portugal that produces the geological knowledge, our geological survey, the National Laboratory of Energy and Geology. And for that, we will have Daniel Oliveira. Daniel is the head of Unit of Mineral Resources, and he's going to talk about, again, critical raw materials and about the strategic vision of the Portuguese Geological Survey about that. Daniel, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luis. Good morning to everybody. Please excuse the voice and the probable intermittent cough, which I will blame, as so many other things are climate change. Let me get started. Oh, hang on, it's me to do it. Okay, so the evolution of criticality, as you well know, has come a long way since 2008 and the implementation of the Raw Materials Initiative by the European Union. Since then, we have had 5 critical raw materials lists. And if you look at these raw materials lists, you will see that not only has the number of critical raw materials increased, but the spectrum has also increased. Now, you might say, are the geologists not doing their work? Why is the number of critical raw materials increasing instead of decreasing? We've had 10 years to work on this, so we should have found more. It's not. It's as it has been said before, the critical raw materials list are important for a larger number of technical needs. In between the critical raw materials list, we've also had a few initiatives that have come by. One of the initiatives has been the ERACON, the European Rare Earths Competency Network, that was implemented around 2012. And this is precisely for the reason that Antonio Costa e Silva mentioned. It's the limitation of the exports of rare earths by China. And obviously the Green European Green Deal has also been important, and it has set a lot of targets for us to do, most of which I'm very skeptical that we will ever get to, but this is a personal opinion. But I think the most important one has been the Critical Raw Materials Act. It's been brought up in this forum several times today, and Patricia has just spoken on the measures that we are committed to making sure that this gets implemented in Portugal, and this is extremely important. But we have obviously a blot in the landscape, and this is the pictures that you are seeing up on the screen right now. The pictures that you are seeing right now, obviously, are the brakes to creating new mines, especially in Portugal. Now, I will be more clear than everybody has hinted at, and I think that this, with a few other factors, this is where we are going. Engineer Costa e Silva has said that we need more critical raw materials, we need more raw materials, period. Without those raw materials, this is where we are going to end up. But in the meantime, let's move along. We all know that critical raw materials are normally accessory minerals or accessory metals, accessory elements in much larger deposit types. So for example, if you are looking for cobalt, you will go look for nickel ores. And if you're looking for tungsten, niobium, and tantalum, you will be targeting your exploration and your mineral processing on tin ores. And this is extremely important, that critical raw materials do not appear as if by magic. They need work, they need investment, and they need a lot of time. Now, what is the role of the geological survey in all this process? Normally, depending on the business model of the geological surveys will intervene in this pyramid of finding and discovering and developing a mineral deposit into a mine, normally well below the pyramid that you are seeing there. And normally, our work will rely on regional geophysics, regional geochemistry, analytical work, some mapping, and some geochronology. Geochronology is extremely important in the Iberian Pyrite Belt, where we know there is a very small window of where these mineral deposits can occur. And obviously, this is something that the geological surveys will do gladly, given the time and money. And what they do is they de-risk any investment that any company that comes along afterwards will undertake. And obviously, it is the company's job to do target definition. They have to delineate larger regions of interest. They have to do more detailed geophysics. They have to do mapping on a much larger scale, and they have to do much more sampling than a geological survey should do. Now, it has been mentioned in the previous session as well that the frequency of new deposits has fallen. This is a fact. The investment has fallen as well. And so we've had a continuous drop in investment since 2009. This is inevitable. So if you want to find more deposits, you need to invest more. If you don't want to invest more, you need to invest smarter. And if you need to invest smarter, you need to do things differently. And to do things differently is to step away from the image on the left-hand side of your screen, where you are the traditional method of finding new deposits was that. Nowadays, you use multidisciplinary methods, and companies will have commodity-specific exploration teams. So if you are looking for copper, they will have a team that specializes in copper. If you are looking for cobalt, they will have a team that specializes in nickel ores, and so. And so the companies today will throw everything at it except the kitchen sink. This is what I'm trying to show on the image on the right-hand side of the screen. And obviously, if you think in the same old way, you will get the same old results. So you need to think outside the box. You need to think differently. Artificial intelligence was really brought up today in the last half an hour, and this is something that will definitely shape the new exploration strategies that we find. So in terms of what the geological survey does, the geological survey has information that has been gathered over tens and tens and tens of years, sometimes even centuries. We know that many of the deposits that we have in Portugal were in fact discovered by the Romans. So we are basically just working on something that was discovered over 2,000 years ago. And our job is to make sure that we take that information, we interpret it and reinterpret it, and we produce value-added products. One such value-added product is the map that you can see up on the screen. And that map is the critical raw materials map of mainland Portugal that was based on the 2020 critical raw materials list. We do have a version for the 2023 critical raw materials list, and the new critical raw materials list, which will come out next year in approximately April, we will then have a new product on that. But so there are 1,600 points on that map that have been interpreted, reinterpreted, and the map not only shows where they are, it also shows what the morphology of the deposits are, the size of the deposits that we know based on the current information, and also there is metallogenic information on it. So it is extremely important that our job is to make sure that we understand the needs of and the trends of the markets and of the exploration. And obviously, we cannot move away from something that is now becoming a norm in our working procedures, and that is the use of new technologies. We are ever more human resource dependent and ever more human resource challenged, to say it nicely. And so we have to use methods that allow us to cover larger areas in much more optimized time. This is just an example of the São Domingos mine where we did we surveyed it with optical sensors and LiDAR, and this is to try and understand and to make a digital terrain model of where the mine dumps are, and so that we can evaluate the secondary raw materials and their potential in critical raw materials deposits. And if you will allow me just one more slide. It is the job of the geological surveys to compile the information. It is the job to verify and homogenize. And the reason for homogenizing is extremely important, because if you are not speaking the same language as the Spanish Geological Survey or the Belgian Geological Survey or the Polish Geological Survey, you cannot talk to each other. We have to interpret and reinterpret the data that, as I've said. We have to convert it in easy-to-use, visually compelling, value-added products. We have to ensure that it is unbiased information. So let's not have a slant towards one side of the scale. We have to shield it from politics. It has to be extremely well shielded from politics. We have to make it available at the same level to all interested. And therefore, an active and continued investment in the geological surveys must be made and must be continued. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention.
Let me tell you that the Portuguese Geological Survey is one of the oldest ones in Europe, the fourth one, founded in 1859. Before that, we had UK, Ireland, and Austria. So we are very proud of our geological survey. And let me emphasize also 3 points that Danielle just touched. We started with this exercise of critical raw materials with 14, and we have now 34. So criticality is increasing, not decreasing, like Danielle said. So we must call not Houston, saying that Houston, we have a problem, but Brussels, we have a problem. The second point is about the importance of exploration and the importance of geological knowledge. And for that, I emphasize that in the Critical Raw Materials Act, we have now a mandatory national exploration program that should be developed by all the member states. We hope that will become a reality also very soon. And the third point is about the importance of secondary mineral resources and the importance of the potential of mining waste all over Europe. And for that, and because of that, we have a bridge for the next speaker, who is Zélia Estevão. Zélia is a member of the board of EDM, Empresa de Desenvolvimento Mineiro, our public mining company. And Zélia will speak about the fantastic work that EDM has developed in the last years, rehabilitating more than 100 abandoned mines in Portugal, but also recognizing some of the potential of those tailings, of those dumps, have for critical raw materials. Zélia, the floor is yours. 15 minutes, please. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor to share Portugal's experience in just transition and mining rehabilitation, a story of responsibility, innovation, and public leadership through EDM, the state concessionaire of environmental recovery of abandoned mining areas. This presentation is called Just Transition in Mining because what Portugal has achieved is the rehabilitation and valorization of abandoned mining areas is not technical work. It's a commitment to justice, to people, and to the land itself. Today I would like to speak about something that goes far behind mining or the environment. It's about responsibility, balance, and the way we choose to shape the future. We live in a time of great uncertainty. Global priorities are shifting. Sometimes personal interests prevail over collective good. And yet, mining and geological resources remain at the core of progress. They have shaped our past and will define our future. The world is changing fast. In an age of geopolitical disruption, when self-interest often overshadows the collective good, finding equilibrium, being in the right place, it's not easy. And yet, here we stand, in a world still built on a geological and mineral resources, sometimes a source of conflict, but always a source of progress. Minerals have shaped who we are as human, and they will also shape the future we are building. And if you want to move forward, we must learn from the past. And if you look ahead, one thrust remains clear. Transition is not about stopping mines, it's about changing how we act. We must be responsible, efficient, and sustainable, ensuring that progress no longer comes at the expense of the planet or people. No energy or climate transition will ever succeed if we don't learn to be frugal, responsible, and sustainable. We cannot repeat the mistakes for the past, not tomorrow, not later, but right now. Because it makes no sense to imagine a world without mining or natural stone industries. Must change is how we mine, how we manage resources, and how we respect the environment and our people. And that brings us to the role of nation and to Portugal's unique position is this global challenge. That philosophy guides Portugal's approach to mining: responsible, innovate, and social fair. Portugal, like many European member states, holds an extraordinary geological potential, essential for the European decarbonization agenda. Modern mining no longer resembles the practice of decades past. Technology progress forces to lead, not just out of ambition, but out of respect for communities, for social justice, and for energy independence. This is the spirit behind Portugal's approach to sustainable mining and territorial rehabilitation. The challenge is to extract resources with responsibility, technology, and respect for the people. The Portuguese state has taken a leading role in environmental rehabilitation, becoming a reference point in Europe and beyond. Our extractive industry has embraced responsible development, where environmental recovery and economic opportunity coexist. Through EDM, the state ensures that abandoned mine areas are not forgotten, but reimagined as place of innovation, tourism, and education. Since 2001, EDM has carried out this mission on behalf of the Portugal state. We manage 199 former mining areas, turning sites of degradation into space of renewal, both environmentally and socially. This is not just cleanup, it's heritage recovery. It's about transforming the memory of mining into a new future for local communities. So, What does this look like in practice? Let me give you a sense of our work. EDM operates on behalf of the Portugal state, managing 199 former mining areas, over 170 fully recovered, and 150 million euros invested since 2001 to 2025. Our mission is to transform abandoned, degraded spaces into safe, productive, and value land, recovering history while creating opportunities. And through this mission, Portugal became a model of environmental leadership. The Portugal state, through EDM, leads international in environmental rehabilitation, proving that mining and sustainability can coexist. Our projects align with European climate goals and the principles of the European Green Deal, a European and global benchmark, public investment and environment rehabilitation, integration of circular economy principles, collaboration between government, science, and industry. EDM integrates culture, science, and tourism through initiatives like the Mines Route and Mineral Platform, transforming technical sites into living laboratories for education and sustainable tourism. Territorial cohesion means connecting recovery to education and culture. That's why EDM supports initiatives like the Mines Route and the Guide to Education Mining Service, which combines science, tourism, and public engagement. EDM works goes far behind restoring land. It's about creating new opportunities. We implement infrastructures that supports renewable energy, green logistics, and technological innovation hubs. These projects turn environmental liabilities into productive accents, ensuring a circular and sustainable economy. And they bring life back to rural areas, reconnecting people to their land. Our goal is simple: to make this place not only clean, but alive again, part of people's daily life. These projects help communities reconnect with their land and regain their dignity. Our work doesn't stop at remediation. EDM creates new opportunities by converting former mining sites into renewable energy zones, scientific parks, and green industry areas, giving this land a new life and purpose. Creating opportunity also means investing in education in community. At the European level, EDM works in coordination with member states under programs such as the Just Transition Fund and the LIFE program, as well as through public-private partnerships. We also aim to contribute to the mapping and valorization of critical raw materials aligned with the European regulation. These efforts support the European strategic autonomy while ensuring a fair and environmentally responsible transition. And all this position, EDM is more than a recovery company, a true agenda to transforming. In summary, EDM is not only a recovery company. It's a transformation company. We transform liabilities in assets. We promote a new economy paradigm that values land, water, and biodiversity. We drive social cohesion, environment innovation, and transparent governance. We stimulate, invest, and rebuild local values change. We create community space and promote environmental awareness. And we ensure continuous monitoring and transparency. In short, we building the foundation for a just and sustainable future. We want people at the heart of transition with new employment opportunities, requalification and training, stronger inclusive communities. The just transition is also a social transition. In regions historically depend of mining, EDM, forest, new jobs, education and innovation, turning what has once declined in development. Ultimately, this is about people. In doing so, ADM promotes social inclusion and territorial balance. And writing the European framework, we are not alone in this mission. In our path is one of continuing collaboration and shared responsibility. Then we must commit to policies that repair, anticipate, and prevent the impacts of mining. As Ed Conway wrote in this book, Material World, since the dawn of time, humanity has left a visible mark on the earth. It was allowed us to live longer and more comfortably. We can live cleaner, more sustainable lives, not by rejecting the material world, but by embracing and understanding. EDM embraces and understands the material world, not to exploit, but to transform it itself to future generation. As Ed Conway reminds us, humanity's marks on the earth is unable, but it can also be responsible, clean, and fair. And that is exactly what EDM is doing, embracing and understanding the material world to transform its responsibility for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zélia. I would say that every politician in Europe, every journalist in Europe should read Ed Conway's book, The Material World, because sometimes it seems that we are living here in Europe in a virtual world, not in a material one, unfortunately. Also, an information that Zélia didn't give you. This national program of abandoned mines rehabilitation was financed by the European Commission, of course, but in a very large percentage also by the royalties that active mines are paying. So I think it's a very important and very tangible use of the royalties that we can see here. So now we can move for the last speaker before the panel. As I said in the beginning, I think that all the mineral resources are essential for society. But in Portugal, we have one sector which is not considered a critical or strategic mineral raw material, but is strategical for our economy, for our companies, for the creation of wealth and jobs, which is the dimension stones subsector. So Marta Pérez, who is the Executive Director of the Cluster Mineral Resources, I used to say that Marta is my boss, will present something about what we are doing in this important subsector in Portugal, the dimension stones one. Marta, the floor is yours, please. 10 minutes.
And I am the boss? Okay. I will try it. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to join you today at MINEX Europe to present one of the Portugal most emblematic industrial sector, the ornamental or the dimensional stone industry, and to share with you how we are shaping its sustainable transformation through the national initiative Sustainable Stone by Portugal under the PRR instrument. But let me first impress you with some figures about Portuguese stone sector. Portugal ranks among the world's 10 exporters and producers of ornamental stone, including marble, granite, limestone, and slates. In 2024, our companies exports over 560 million euros to 116 countries across the world. There are currently 2,260 companies, and we are generating more than 14,000 direct jobs, most of them located in less developed regions, where stone is a pillar of local economy. But behind the numbers, Portuguese stone has become a global reference for its quality, design, and sustainability. Over the last 2 decades, our industry has evolved from traditional extraction and processing to high-tech sector that embraces digitalization, automation, and circular economy principles. One of Portugal's main strengths is the completed integrated value chain, from exploration to extraction, using advanced geological and digital tools, to transforming and processing in modern factories equipped with robotics, with the CNC machines, with the IoT systems. The Portuguese stone sector stands out for its innovative capacity, not only in transformation, but also in development of state-of-art machinery that helps the competitiveness of the sector. From design and engineer to internationalization through architecture, branding, and global partnerships, every step adds value. The innovation extends across the entire value chain, embracing the principles of the circular economy through the reuse of byproducts, waste valorization, and eco-efficient production processes. Portugal combines natural heritage, technological excellence, and creative design, positioning itself as a global reference in the sustainable stone industry. And it's not working? Okay. And based in this complete value chain and following a quadruple helix approach, the sector is developing the largest project ever carried out in Portugal for natural stone, the Agenda Sustainable Stone by Portugal, with a total investment of 69 million euros. It units 52 partners, 20 industrial stone companies, 11 technology and software firms, 16 universities and R&D centers, 3 associations and 2 public entities. Together, these partners share one clear mission: to make the Portuguese stone industry smarter, greener, and more competitive. The agenda focuses on 3 key pillars: automation, digitalization, and decarbonization. Through this project, we are implementing 27 products, services, and systems that directly address the challenge of energy efficiency, circularity, and digital transformation. Our global objectives are increasing productivity by at least 5%, raising added value by 8%, growing exports by 15%, of course, among consortium companies, reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30%, and reaching near 100% the use of byproducts, and achieving 60% of incorporation of renewable energies in the industrial operations. We are also targeting the creation of 200 new qualified jobs. And right now, we already have a patent registered that is a result of this project. The project is structured around 6 major innovation domains. First, innovative products. This includes new composite materials, eco-efficient coatings, and hybrid solutions with polymer, for example. We are also developing materials for additive manufacturing using stone dust and residues to produce new products through 3D printing. The second domain, new systems for the recovery of byproducts. Our aim is to move waste to resource, transforming quarries, transforming commercial blocks and stone dust into valuable raw materials for design, construction, and manufacturing. The third domain is the creation of robotized solutions for extraction and transformations. For example, robots for stone transport, for manipulation in quarries, robot arms for cutting and shaping in factories, autonomous system for measuring, scanning, and handling with stone. The fourth domain, we are introducing new process for stone sustainability. This includes in calculating and monitoring the environmental footprint of natural stone in Portugal. By combining digital monitoring with eco-design, we aim to position Portuguese stone as one of the most environmentally responsible materials in the global construction market. Sorry. Now, the fifth is the new process. We are advancing in digitalization across industry. We are creating platform for data management, predictive quality analysis, and product behavior studies, as well integrating building information model tools, and to connect all this to connect the producers, the stone, to clients. And the sixth domain, in the sixth domain, we are establishing an innovative center for the sustainability of mineral resources. This center, located in Portimão, will serve to test, train, and demonstrate new products and solutions. It will offer a realistic and futuristic simulation environment for industry. Conclusion, in summary, and to conclude, the Sustainable Stone by Portugal agenda proves that the future of stone industry, and I may say all the industries, is based in collaboration between all stakeholders and regions. This agenda is a living example of how European industry ecosystems can transform themselves, embracing Industry 4.0, circular economy, and climate neutrality, while creating jobs, value, and while maintaining the sustainability of their territories. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marta. Like you just seen, 20 years ago, our dimension stone subsector only produced and export blocks. Now we have a complete and responsible value chain in Portugal, producing some of the best products in the world related with dimension stones. So like that, we finished our set of speeches, and we are going to start now with the panel. So I invite all the panelists to come to the stage and start the discussion right away, please. So like I said in the beginning, I'm very grateful to all the speakers, to all the panelists, to accept our invitation. That is a really pleasure to have them here. Like I said also, we have a good representation of our mining sector, but there is much more. Thank you so much. There is much more of industries, associations, institutions that also works a lot for the mining sector, but having these institutions, companies, and people here with us, it's a really honor, because also is the mission of my cluster is to aggregate the different stakeholders of our sector. So let's beginning with the begin. We have several exploration geologists here with us, and like I used to say, everything begins with exploration. So maybe John is the responsible for exploration in Savannah Resources, a strategic project of a critical and strategic commodity, lithium. And the first question that I have to John, before of that, I was forgetting that, we will have about 10 minutes for each of you. I intend to make 2 questions, so 5 minutes for each, or 10 minutes in total, it doesn't matter. Something like that. We have lunch just after this session. So John, the question is, we recently saw that Savannah had an extraordinary increase of resources in his Boticas project. Can you talk something about that, describing what was the methodology to have a so important increase on your resources in the project, please?
Yes, hopefully you can hear me. First of all, thank you for the invitation to attend, and thank you for the organization. Well, yeah, we did reach a very important milestone in the project. So we closed our resource for our definitive feasibility study with a 40-ish% increase in the resource. I should mention that this increase was actually inside the models that were already outlined for the scoping study. What we were doing in this last 15 kilometers of drilling that we drilled in the last year and a half was to get more confidence in the resource, so to get more information. At the moment, we have 50,000 meters of drilling in the deposit. So we have most of our resource is at the class of measured and indicated at JORC category. So to get to this point and try to go direct to your question without wandering, which is very common to me, is we selected two different methods of drilling, but most of the achievement is made through drilling. So we need to get access to the surface, we need to put the drill rigs there, and we need to be able to drill. So the first part of this process is to get access to the surface. As you know, the project required a special access to the surface, which is an administrative easement of access, which was an administrative process that we were able to put the drill rigs on site. We reached the point we had 6 drill rigs drilling at the same time. We had drill rigs doing reverse circulation, which is a destructive method that recovers rock that is already crushed, mostly for our resource assessment, for geochemical information. And then we drilled a very wide set of drill core with diamond drilling so that we could get geotechnical information for us to design the pit. So we are not just at the stage of knowing the resource, we are already very advanced in the stage of knowing how to mine it. So we need to know the stability of the rock, we need to know the underground water conditions, we need to know all that information that is required for us to have a mineable resource, okay? So this was the last year and a half, was to increase exponentially the information we had in the project and increase also exponentially the confidence we have on it, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Let's jump to tungsten, still keeping in exploration. Vitor Areses is Vice President for Exploration in Mineral Allied Resources. The company is, besides other things, trying to develop 2 important projects in the north of Portugal, tungsten projects. Victor, I would like to start to asking you, what are the main challenges today in Portugal for develop an exploration project? Because I believe that today, and not only in Portugal, in a lot of member states in Europe, it's more difficult to get an exploration project that to rob some jewels from the Louvre. So, can you speak a little bit about the challenges, not only about exploration, but also to develop after exploration, just after exploration, to develop a project, in this case, a tungsten project or some tungsten projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Luis, and thank you for the invitation, by the way. So that is a great question, and it's a question that can last for a couple of hours only to answer. But let's try to make it short. I think that the main challenge right now, and I will try to throw you some disruptive ideas just to challenge you a little bit. And right now the challenge is not financing, as many people thought, probably. It's the lack, the real bottleneck is the lack of practical policies and decision making, okay? So I don't like to complain about the time. I understand the questions and the discussions about regulations, but at the same time, I think that as Europe, we should be responsible, you know, and for that you need regulations and you need to follow some rules, and you also want to leave a good legacy for the future generations. So I don't complain, and we understand all the pain that is going through all the environmental impact studies, all the technical, you know, challenges. And it's fair to say that we have a very good human resources in Portugal and Europe. So that is just work. That is just hard work. So the main challenge is just this. It's the political availability and political trust. If investor, if a company from Canada, from London, from Australia want to invest in Europe, they understand that we'll have to follow some, you know, some rules, and sometimes that will have to be spent a little bit more. The problem is, if we follow up the rules and if we do things properly, will the decision be strict technical, or will be a political decision? So, and I'm not complaining about the politics, okay? I think that it's time to stop blaming the policy and the politics and understand that their job is not easy, and it's time for us, we all, and this Congress, this is an amazing opportunity to start to promoting this, start to help educating people, and start to help showing people that mines can actually be a good thing. And that is the perception. I think that's the biggest problem. If we change the perception, and if we change the mentality, and if we really pass to the people this idea that mines must be and are a cardinal factor of the not only the green transition, but industrial and sovereignty. You know, so it's what the real challenge is conceptual, it's theoretical, it's not practical. Okay, so it's the decisions being applied practically, not necessarily the time that you spend to do things. Okay.
Okay. I used to say that a non-decision is much worse than a negative decision.
Exactly.
So let's move on. I don't know if we can call it the less critical commodity of the 34 raw materials that was classified like that by the European Commission, but what I know is that industrial minerals, and namely feldspar, are essential in our daily life. So I will move to Brandon. Brandon Clifford is co-CEO of one of the most important industrial minerals group that we have in Portugal, Mota Ceramic Solution. It's not, they are dealing not only with feldspar, but with a lot of industrial minerals. So the question for Brandon, and I know that he has an opinion that I fully agree, because this session is called, or at least partially is called sustainable mining. I believe that mining is not sustainable by definition, but can be responsible, like you used to say, Brandon.
Absolutely.
So I would like that you comment on that, and that at the same time to speak a little bit about the importance of industrial minerals, especially in Portugal, and what are the challenges that you are currently facing to develop your projects or to develop new projects. Please.
Okay, Luis, thank you very much again, everybody as well, for being here today. Normally, if I'm asked to speak, I normally say, it's your job to listen, my job to speak. But if you finish before me, please let me know. As Luis mentioned, MCS is a producer of multi-minerals primarily for the ceramics industry in Portugal. And our lithium feldspars are a product that we produce for the ceramics industry. The group itself has some 50 quarries and concessions in Portugal, and that makes us, as Luis says, an important producer. And therefore, we have, with that, comes great responsibility. And as Luis says, I actually hate the word sustainable. I hate the word green. I hate the word eco, because I think they, as one of the other speakers spoke today, they're overused and they lose their meaning because of that. I think the ESG agenda is extremely important, and it should be, again, as one of the speakers mentioned, should be in our DNA for the mining industry, because the biggest challenge that we face at the moment is this issue of trust. And the legacy issues, not only in Portugal, but everywhere in Europe and everywhere in the world, running down from the biggest top 4 global mining groups that have had in recent history some very negative press. And so it's very important for us as a mining industry to maintain and gain trust of the local communities where we work and address the legacy issues that still persist, and also still a lot of bad practices that are happening in Europe. One of the projects that I'm personally involved is in the responsible sourcing of silica and sands, which is associated with a project with OECD. And I'm also the current president of the Industrial Minerals Association in Europe, and we cover 10 industrial minerals. But for us, and for me personally, we have the slogan, Minerals for Life. And again, one of the things that's come up today is the importance of minerals in our world. Felspar is a recent mineral that's come onto the critical raw materials list. I'm actually very skeptical about why it came onto the list, because I think it came on the list, particularly in the European context, because of hard rock mining for lithium, and the fact that lithium is a strategic mineral, and associated with the lithium in Portugal and other hard rock, 10 of the hard rock development projects in Europe, they will produce a lot of felspar and quartz as a byproduct or subproduct, as my colleague John would say. And I think this is an issue that we need to consider. When it does happen, the whole of the felspar value chain in Europe will change dramatically, because it will create a tsunami of felspar. The calculations that I've done personally suggest that if only half of the projects, the hard rock projects, start in Europe, there's going to be an influx of between 2 to 3 million tons of new felspar product. The market says, oh, that's great, because we can reduce our dependency on the Turkish felspars, which currently supply 50% of the European market. The reality is technical considerations also need to be taken into account, not just the volume of these materials. The challenges for us are legislation is obviously an issue, but I don't think it's an issue if you are a professional mining company and you follow the law. The biggest challenge is maintaining the trust from the communities when we see still around us, and I call it, unfortunately, the Wild West of Portugal mining industry. I've worked globally around the many countries in the world, and Portugal still has a long way to go to comply with the legislation which is in place and the new legislation which is under development. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brandon. Let's move into copper. Like António Costa Silva highlighted, we must not neglect the huge importance of copper in our days, and if we like to have a just transition, copper will play an essential role. So I will ask Humberto Costa Leite. Humberto is the president of Almina, Minas de Austral, one of our most important mines in Portugal. I must tell you that Humberto, in his previous life, was not a man used to mining. He was a banker. But he decided some years ago to invest in Austral. He believed in the operation, in the mine. And today we are seeing still a lot of investment in the mine, a lot of modernization in terms of digitalization, automation, decarbonization. They are building a second plan to autonomize the production of copper and zinc. So there is still a big investment, and I would like to ask Humberto, what is his motivation for doing that, and what are, at the same time, the difficulties that he's having to develop and to invest in the project.
Thank you, Luis. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I just may make a small correction. I studied economics and engineering, but my first employment was in an industry. So, and I had to, in our family, we had a small stone quarry. And when I was invited to invest in Austral, when I visited the mine, I saw a lot of similarities with the stone quarry underground, and the concentrate plant was a processing plant, so it was also similar to a company we had producing chipboard. So, but life is like that. So copper is as you know, is in the critical raw material. So in the periodic table, we have 34 in Europe, we have 54, I think, in the United States, and copper in all the countries is a critical raw material. It's a wonderful product, it's a wonderful metal. It's recyclable, so it's 100% recyclable. You can use the metal, you don't consume the metal. So to have an idea, 30% of the copper consumption in the world is recycled. The projections that you have in all these metals, I always don't like to look at the forecasts as things that is going to happen. It's just a tendency that you have. If you look at the copper, you have for the next 5 years, there is in the world, there is a need of another 5 million tons of copper, which is, from today, we are consuming about 33 million tons of copper, which is a lot. So you cannot find mines to respond to the market demand. In Austral, just was to make a quick introduction. In Austral, we will be producing about 30,000 tons of copper metal in concentrates, so they contain copper in concentrates, and about 90 to 100,000 tons of zinc and lead. When I joined this company, it was a really big challenge. We had to do a lot of work in terms of exploration. So we had to increase a lot our resources, so in order to be competitive. So it's a thing that we have done with a very good team and with time, and we were also lucky because the metal prices were in a level that we could make also some investments, and that's the way we have been doing it for the last 14, 15 years. We are at the end of a very, very big investment. We are investing in this company about 400 million euros. And we are going to do the upgrade of the concentrate plant so that we can process the two ores at the same time, so the zinc ore and the copper ore. And this means also that we need to extract this amount of ore to be processed in the plant. So our goal is to achieve 6 million tons. We don't think that we will do in the first year. We will try to do in the second year. And if we don't achieve in the second year, we have to achieve in the third year. So that's the way we think things. The project of this investment was also to make the company more sustainable in terms of electricity. We put a solar photovoltaic plant of 20 megawatts. I was selling in the break, a coffee break. It's the only good thing is that you can say that you are more a sustainable company, because the solar plant is in economical terms, is probably not the best investment that you can make. And I tell you why, so that some of the people that you can get this experience. Once you have a solar plant working, your energy provider, your electricity provider, charges you more for the energy that you buy from him, because you don't buy the solar energy during the day. So it increases the cost of energy. And so it's something that it's nice to say that you are a sustainable company, but sometimes this being sustainable is not the best economical way to do things. And the investment we made also, as I told you, is not an extraction, but we use the opportunity to increase the productivity, to increase the security. We are doing a lot of things. We have just started the extraction, or the main extraction of the different deposits is autonomous. So we have dumpers driving autonomously, and the loaders are also to 95% autonomous. And a lot of things that we are trying to have a mine being operated from the surface, so with remote control. This is something very, very, very challenging, but this is also good for the security of our workers. What are the challenges that we are facing? And let's stay with energy. Energy is, for Portugal and for Europe, a very, very critical point. People don't deliver the industry in Europe energy at an acceptable price level. We are paying too much for energy. The governments are not facing this challenge the way they should. So we pay at least 20, 30, 40, 50% more for energy than the United States, for example. But also the Scandinavian countries, they have, of course, hydro energy. But this is, for me, the biggest challenge we are facing. Energy costs. And I am surprised when I see politicians saying we will have data centers in Portugal. This is a wonderful thing. Data centers consume a lot of energy. And this is going to increase the price of energy for everybody. And I'm not against data centers, but data centers are not I think it creates some jobs, some very good jobs for knowledge people. But you have to think, if you want to have industry in Portugal, you have to think really about the energy. Without competitive costs in energy, we are destroying not only mining, but also other things. The next challenge we have is to decarbonize and stay competitive. So we know, again, we know that to decarbonize, you have to electrify. The electrification is the key to decarbonize. And in a company, we have to decarbonize as well, but we have to stay competitive. So this is a very big challenge. We cannot say we are going to buy these and these equipments, but we have to do it in an economical way. If we don't do it economically, the company will not exist. And just to say another challenge is, I think Mr. Costa Silva gave us here a very nice speech. We are bureaucrats. In Europe, a lot. We are destroying Europe, and people is sleeping. I don't need to repeat it, but in Portugal as well. Bureaucracy, the time to do things is a challenge for everybody. And this industry, mining industry, is very sensible. And so the political power don't like mining because it's too noisy. It's noisy, so people don't like mining. And if we don't really have a strategy in the country to say that we have resources, because I've been in mining now for 14 years. A mine was going to open soon, the next mine. After 14 years, no new mine has opened. Maybe Savannah. I always say, if Savannah opens, this is a really, really victory for everybody in the industry. But we don't know when. And time to market is a very important thing. Because lithium today is critical and is important. But we don't know in 5 to 10 years how critical lithium is. Copper, for example, is a little bit different. Copper is a metal related to the economy, so it will exist for not forever, because nothing exists forever. But these critical raw materials can be critical in a couple of years. And if we don't have the time to market, the value will go.
Okay, thank you very much, Humberto. Thank you very much. Let's to return to lithium. I don't know if you all know, we have 3 strategic projects in lithium in Portugal. One is processing, not directly related with mining. The other 2 ones, we heard about the Boticas or Barroso project with John. And the second one is Montalegre or Romano project with Luz aos Recursos. We have with us Ricardo Pinheiro, who is the CEO of Luz aos Recursos. And the first question that I have to Ricardo, we know that pegmatite deposits, it's one that it's not very difficult to apply the concept of zero waste. And I know that Luz aos Recursos is trying to apply that concept to their project. So what will be the methodology to do that? What will be the challenges to do that? I know that Ricardo will reply in Portuguese, so I will translate, but like that you have a little bit less of time than the other panelists, okay?
Obrigado. Obrigado, Luís. Eu sou verdadeiro empreendedor português e o projeto Romano é um projeto 100% português, a Luz aos Recursos é 100% portuguesa e tivemos sempre em respeito na elaboração do projeto as questões sociais e as questões ambientais, em particular as comunidades locais. Tivemos que nos integrar, perceber o território, perceber as questões ambientais também e sabendo que é uma mina abandonada, um passivo ambiental, é preciso perceber o enquadramento do território e perceber como é que foi o método feito anteriormente. E estando num território de património agrícola mundial, também temos que ter esse respeito. Mas não é fácil, e como diz o Dr. Humberto Costa Leite, processar em subterrâneo, que esse é o nosso processo, em subterrâneo, tem um OPEX muito elevado, mas só com um projeto de valor acrescentado e por isso é que temos integrado a refinaria para aumentar o valor do produto.
Okay. So, Luz aos Recursos is a 100% Portuguese company. Since the beginning that they try to involve the local community, they've tried to respect the social and environmental characteristics of that territory. It was mined in the past, especially for tin. That was one of the oldest and most important mining districts in Portugal, exploited by tin. So they are trying to build an underground mine in the project that is even more challenging in terms of economics of the project, because they have to do everything that they can to keep the added value resulting from that extraction, from that mining project. I don't know. Okay, so it's finished. Okay, I think that you have something more to say, but...
Sim, o que é importante termos projeto integrado com a refinaria incluída para aumentarmos o valor ao projeto.
So the Luz aos Recursos project, it's not only about the mining, despite the fact that the European Union classified the project, only the extraction was considered strategic, but in the project is also included a refinery, so that's the way, or having a more complete value chain, and like that kept the added value that Ricardo was telling about in terms of the economics of the project. So that is very important for the company to have both, not only the extraction, but also the refinery process going ahead. Thank you so much. So let's return to tungsten now. I have the pleasure and the honor to announce António Correia de Sá. António is not only one of our champions because he was involved in the most important mining projects in Portugal, including the Neves Corvo mine, but also is now one of the main responsibles for our jewel of the crown. It's a mine with more than 130 years producing tungsten and tin and a little bit of copper, non-stopping 130 years of mining. So we have a very profound consideration and friendship by António, and also like I said, Penasqueira is our jewel of the crown. So I would like to ask António, we are hearing every day now the importance of defense, the importance of aeronautics. We must increase our strategic autonomy in Europe about that, but nobody, or almost nobody, is talking about tungsten, because we need tungsten to do that. So how do you see the present and the future of tungsten in this political context, in this geopolitical context, and what will be the role of Penasqueira mine in that context? António, please.
Thank you, Luis. First of all, good morning to everybody, or good afternoon. Thank you for being here, and thank you on behalf of Beralt, really a company mining tungsten in this country for more than 130 years. This time is a very interesting time that we on the tungsten are suffering. Tungsten, as you know, is a raw material, of course, critical raw material, a metal very hard, very high density, with a very high melting and boiling point. So has very specific applications. We all know aerospace industry, filaments, electrodes, but defense equipment, that is military use. What is happening on these last 6 months is an enormous, tremendous demand on tungsten. So big that I can tell you that the prices have doubled in the last 6 months. The price of APT, which is the first product after concentrates, has really doubled, which makes the mine in good conditions, financial speaking, but with a big challenge. It's exciting time. To put you in the picture, this moment China produces 80% of the world production. Then we have Bolivia, Russia, Portugal, Austria. And China, they stop export. So they need their product for whatever it is. And that became a tremendous lack of concentrate in the world. That's why the prices increase all that much. And one of the reasons, and that is not nice, is not a nice feeling, and it's nice to say, is for military use, arms race, corrida ao armamento, como dizemos em português. This happened the same in the World War. Everybody still remembers on that figures what the prices achieve. And we are having the same very, very strong demand and consequently a tremendous increase on the price. That makes the companies think, and namely Beralt, what we're thinking. We are trying to increase our production because people need production both in Europe and the States and to satisfy our clients. And that's a challenge, to increase production in a mine that old, with difficulty in this country to get manpower. It's difficult to get people to work. And we talked a while ago about EU regulations. They can be very strong and stop us to move faster. That is a thing we have to have in mind. And I think we are all fighting to improve that and to get better results, to be able to improve our conditions production-wise as fast as possible. We have in this moment a big project, and now coming to Panasqueira, a big project to increase the life of the mine, which is to deepen the mine, and that can give us another 50 years or something, 15 years. But more than that, it will allow us in a short time to increase our production. But that depends on a lot of things, and we need support for that. And as I said, is more on the sense of regulations and impositions of that sense than money itself. I think anyway, apart from Beralt and Panasqueira to increase production, I'm sure there are a lot of mines now coming on. Mines that are in care and maintenance that can restart with these prices. And the important thing that we talked a while ago in the EM is recover the old tails. So big projects are on hand from our side and I think from other companies to start investigation to be able to recover the tungsten that's still on the old tails. As I said, I think it's a very challenging time, a very interesting time. And we that have lived for 130 years have passed from many different situations. This is challenge, but it's good. It's good to have good prices, to have guarantees that all the production is sold is very good, is a very good feeling, of course. We wish all the best for all of us and wish all the best for Europe. And in this sense, smooth regulations, otherwise it's going to be difficult for the industry to improve. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Thank you very much. So, time for copper again. Now I will present Mario Cândido. Mario is Technical Director for Mineral Resources in Somicor Boliden, our most important mine in Portugal, Neves Corvo. As you probably know, we have now a mine with about 1,200 meters of deep, and that puts some technical challenges, obviously. So I would like to ask to Mario that tell us or share with us some of those challenges. I remember that Neves Corvo is an important producer of copper, of course, and that's why they have 3 sub-projects, which is considered 2 for extraction and 1 for processing, considered critical by the European Union. But it's not only about copper. Because of Neves Corvo mine, Portugal is today the most important producer of zinc in Europe. But returning to the challenges and returning to the depth of the mine, what are the technical challenges that you are encountering today? Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. It's a pleasure to be here. So as you said, in Neves Corvo, we are mining at below 1,200 meters deep. It's a really good new challenges for us. There is a lot of challenges, but I can say at most 2. One is the geotechnical conditions, that deep will be for sure a big issue for us, We have mitigation measures in place. We have a strong and robust ground control management plan to deal with that. But the other one is the temperature. For example, at 1,000 meters deep, we have a rock temperature of 50 degrees. So to deal with that, we need to install refrigeration chiller systems at surface to guarantee the right working conditions. And when you look to these two challenges, there is one thing in common. It's the high expensive cost of these two issues. Mining is a very expensive industry. Yes, we have revenues, but yes, we have high costs. And we can put in place, and we must put in place strategies to control our costs, for sure. Quick access to financing, it's good for us, for all the mines, but we also need to support from the external authorities. We need to support for the government. We need to look to the taxes. We need to look to the royalties. This is the examples that can help us in these new conditions, because these new conditions will be a big challenge for all of us, in this case in Boliden. And I can say that our ore body is still open. We have a huge potential to mine, but we know also that Portugal is not a good example in the opportunities, because we have a country with wasted opportunities related to mine. This is what we are discussing here. So I think there is a lot of potential again, but we need to put our hands in the ground and go forward with that projects.
Thank you very much. Let's finish this round with copper. Luis Lima. Luis is responsible for the geochemistry department in Redcorp Ascendant Resources. The company is trying to develop a copper, zinc, gold project in the extreme northwest of the Iberian Pyrite Belt. This is some particular deposit because he has something like 120 meters of tertiary sands in the first part of the deposit, so they have to dig with that depth until reach the deposit. Was a deposit discovered by the Geological Survey. We were very honored with that. But the question is that the discovery was mainly done using geophysical methods, in this case gravimetrics. But as a geochemistry responsible, Luis, what you think it was, it is, it will be the role of geochemistry in developing the project? That's the first question that I have to you.
That's a good question, Luis. First of all, good morning. I think that geochemistry in the role at Lagoa Salgada is very important, mostly because of the mining domaining. Why? Because Lagoa Salgada has at least 5 different domains that are geochemically totally distinct, and this mine domaining can make easier the work, for instance, in the processing plant. Why? For instance, we have different kinds of massive sulfides that in 92, or at least in the years after, when you are looking at them at the rock and doing your logging, they look the same. Although when you look at them in the geochemical point of view, they are totally different. We have our Gaussian top layer, then we have our transition massive sulfides, and then we enter in our primary massive sulfides. When you mix your transition massive sulfides with your primary massive sulfides, the zinc reactivates in your flotation cells, that after it you want to recover your zinc. So geochemistry has a major place in this type of deposits. Of course, that when we are looking also to our south sector, as it's a stockwork zone with different with a zonation from the south area to the north area, from zinc rich to the copper rich area. That also will have implications in your mining design. So when you want to, for instance, mine more zinc, you go to your southern area, and when you want to go to a copper-rich area, to your northern area. So I think in this case, the geochemistry has a major role in this type of deposits as a VMS. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is over, so we don't have time for a second question. But with the organizers' authorization, I would like to ask to each of the panelists to give us a final note, a final message. I think it's important to say that, starting with Vitor. So it's about 20, 30 seconds for each one.
Okay. You know that I'm usually take longer than it's hard to take it short. But I would like to emphasize the importance of tungsten because it's what I'm representing here today. And seeing Panasqueira here, which is make us very proud, and looking at Borralha, that was, as Panasqueira, a very important historical mine. Let me just remind you some historical, very important fact. The way that Portugal effectivates its turning point to the Allies at the 40s, during the Second World War, was precisely starting formally the embargo of selling tungsten for Germany. So that should tell us something about history, because tungsten, it's not only critical, but it's also irreplaceable in most of its uses. So when you look at Panasqueira, when you look at Borralha and other projects that start being developed, they are not just critical projects, but they are European assets for industrial and defense sovereignty. And China controls more than 80%, because not only production, is all the transformation chain that it's downstreams from the mines. And just to finish, very, very important to understand that we speak about 10% of tungsten being produced in Europe, at least, and 40% being transformed. But with these new geopolitical changes, it's important also to understand that this 40% that we should transform in Europe, it's better to make sure that we will also exploit them in Europe. Because nowadays we cannot count, or if there's something that we should learn from last years, we cannot count with outer forms or outer supplies of tungsten.
Come on, Vitor.
Thank you.
That's much more time that was. Brendan, please.
Okay, just very quickly. I think we're talking about critical raw materials, strategic raw materials, but everything is about essential raw materials and the need for mining in Europe. None of the raw materials that we're talking about, whether they're essential or critical or strategic, are rare. What is rare is the opportunity for us to get together, discuss, debate, and find solutions to the future of a prosperous European Commission, and being able to utilize our combined skills to listen to each other to be able to do this. And for me, that's the importance of these meetings.
Thank you so much. Antonio?
Yeah, I'd just like to stress what I see here. How the mining industry is performing well in Portugal. We are really improving. We are doing a lot of efforts, nothing to do what we had in the past, both production-wise, both environmental-wise. I think mining industry in Portugal should be congratulated.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Just before John, can I have the slide that I sent to organizers? Thank you. We save some time like that. John, please go ahead.
Well, I will go back to one of the first speakers and with this note, looking after an example of what the Critical Raw Materials Act made of change to the process of licensing and commissioning projects. Savannah is proud to feel that. So we can say that we can feel that movement. So we already feel entities supporting. We already feel change. So that's the first good sign. All these initiatives like the Critical Raw Materials Act take time to get traction, and we can feel that. So we can say that, we can feel it. So we know that we are the largest spodumene deposit in Europe. We know that we have a lot of eyes on us because we know that we have to deliver. So with the difficult market conditions of lithium, with difficult political context and all the information and everything that goes in the media, we keep moving. So we are still standing. The project is resilient, is strong, and we have the support. So we feel that support.
Humberto, please.
Well, thank you. I think I will speak about Portugal and about mining. I think what I would like to see, because I'm not a miner, I would like to see things simplified. In terms of exploration, I remember when I started here, I was trying to make a fund to do exploration of Portugal, but the politicians didn't want to have it. And we have to simplify things in terms of exploration, in terms of licensing. We have to think about giving more responsibility to the beneficiary. So make the companies more responsible for what they are doing and controlling, and not asking for paper and paper and paper. And if you want to do a new exploration in Portugal, it's impossible. You have to contact 5 or 6 institutions. They don't know what they are going to do, to approve. So what I really want for mining in Portugal is simplifying. Patricia is here, she knows a lot about that, but she doesn't make the law. That's the difference, because she wants to have also new mines in Portugal.
Okay, thank you, Humberto. Luís?
Well, I think that a major role that we all have in this room that can easily allot our life is to educate people. If we start educating people that how these critical raw materials are important for us, that will make all life much easier for all of us in this room. That will also implement some pressure in the political actors to easily our life and to put this project that we have running much easier. So I think that's a good role that we need to do.
Thank you, Luís. Mário, please.
Very quick. I will touch in one thing that is the most thing that is important for the mining industry. It's the people. And we are losing our people. We are losing our resources to another continent. We are losing resources to Australia, to Canada, to South America. So we need to retain our people, and the only way is open new mines. So think about that.
You must have a market for that. Ricardo, please.
Muito rápido. No início deste ano estive enreado no Fórum Mineral, no Future Mineral Forum, e o Ministro do Investimento disse: se o Ocidente quer competir com a China, tem que haver intervenção soberana. E essa intervenção soberana não é só no financiamento, mas todo o apoio da administração pública, dos governos. E uma mina não passa só por um governo. Eu já passei por 4 ou 5 governos.
So what Ricardo just said, he was in Riyadh in the Minerals Forum, and some high level from the Saudi Arabia government said that if the Occident wants to wake up, wants to develop, they should not only invest in the mining sector, but also to facilitate the permitting and all the process related with mining. That's one of the goals of the Critical Raw Materials Act, actually. So my final message, we spoke about a lot of public perception, about social acceptance, about communication. Luís was just telling the importance of educate people, I would say including politics. So because of that, some time ago we have founded a platform, mineral platform. It's about trying to educate people, trying to communicate in a better way, trying to explain to people how important is mining based in technical and scientific criteria. So you are very welcome to interact with the platform, to contribute to the platform. we'll be very happy that you do that. And that, I think, it's a tool that we should use to educate people. So thank you very much to all the panelists again. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you very much for the audience. We will have now lunch. Sorry for the delay, Arthur, but I think we still have time for lunch before the next session. Lunch will be served next door, no? Just next door. Thank you so much.